Hello, everyone. So today I'm gonna at Lost Caverns of Ixalan draft cards for the first time. Not technically the first time. I've seen some previews on Reddit, and more importantly, I tried to do this once before and failed. I didn't realize didn't have my mic set up properly, so I have seen some of these cards before. What we have going here is we have set this to just look at draft boosters and booster display. I'm not really interested in Commander. I'm probably the only Magic player out of 40 million that doesn't play Commander. I don't really have much to say about it. I think even if I did play, I don't think there's much to say about the cards, a Commander card, other than it's fun. Because it's not really a competitive format. Constructed also, I play a very little bit of Modern, but my bread and butter and what I really love to play is Limited. So I've set this to Draft Boosters booster display, and going to be looking at these cards for the first time and share my thoughts, and maybe someone will care. But even if no one watches, I guess it's a good exercise for me to think through these cards before pre-release weekend comes up and start drafting on Magic Arena. So if anyone does join, I hope you enjoy. All right, so let's get started. We'll start with white. Abuelo's Awakening. Return target artifact or or enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield with X additional +1/+1 counters on it as a 1/1 spirit creature with flying in addition to its other types. Non-aura enchantment. Okay. I think it's fine. It's probably a little slow. 4 and X is really slow. I do think, from what I've seen of this format, I do think it's going to be a slower format, especially slower than Wilds of Eldraine draft. Exactly how slow, I don't know. So, if this was Wilds of Eldraine draft, this is like borderline unplayable. That format was so fast, but maybe this limited format will be a little slower, and it's okay. But it's a rare. Honestly, there's probably more. It's probably going to be a fair number of commons and uncommons you still would take before this rare. But we'll see. All right, second card, Acrobatic Leap. 1 white instant, target creature gets +1/+3 and gains flying until end of turn. Untap it. It's a fine combat trick. 1 white is nice. I think it's okay. You don't want more than maybe one of these. If this is a very slow format, don't know if you'll want this really at all. If there aren't going to be mini races. I don't think this is really great, but I think it's playable for one in a relatively fast aggro deck. All right, Adaptive Gym Guard. Tap 2 untap artifacts and or creatures you control. Put a +1/+1 counter on Adaptive Gym Guard. Activate only as a sorcery. Artifact creature gnome. So if there's going to be a lot of this, there's going to be a lot of tapping to add counters, tapping your things down, then it makes Acrobatic Leap a little bit better because, you're during, do you have to do this? Yeah, activate it only as a sorcery. So tap down, if the board state is really cluttered, tap down your creatures, add a counter. Maybe there will probably be other cards that do similar things like this with tapping your creatures. And then all you have to do is keep 1 white open to surprise them if they try to take advantage of that. So, and actually the stat line, I think, is pretty fair for this. 3/3 for 4 with an ability like this. 2 untapped artifacts and or creatures you control is not a lot, and Adaptive Gym Guard counts, right? So all you gotta do is essentially tap the Gym Guard and one other. I think this is pretty good, actually. I think this is a pretty strong common card because, if obviously you're not going to hold it back if it can attack through, but in a cluttered board state, and the game has come to kind of a standstill, this, getting bigger and bigger each turn could be a big deal. Now you do have to tap it during your turn, so that limits it. But if you got other artifacts, you can keep it untapped. I think Adaptive Gym Guard might be a pretty solid common in this set. Okay, Attentive Sunscribe. Artifact creature gnome. Whenever Attentive Sunscribe becomes tapped, scry 1. 2/2 Grizzly Bear, scry 1. Yeah, I mean, obvious combo with Gym Guard. You get to scry and add a +1/+1 counter. I think it's good. I mean, if there's a lot of artifact hate, it makes it easier to get rid of. But as a 2-drop goes, I think it's all right. I think Attentive Sunscribe is a pretty good common. Bat Colony, 1 white, 2 other, uncommon enchantment. When Bat Colony enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying. For each mana a cave spent to cast it. Whenever a cave enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Really difficult to say how good this is going to be when we don't know how many caves are going to actually be in the set. So, not sure. Yeah, I mean, you have to have a cave for this to do anything. I'm going to say this is probably pretty weak, but we need to find out more about caves before we know for sure. Next up, Clayfire Bricks, an uncommon. 1 white, 1 other artifact. When Clayfire Bricks enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic plains card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle. You gain 2 life. Craft with artifact. Okay, so just the ability by itself is nice. Go get a plains, gain 2 life if you need to stall or have some time against an aggro deck. When we craft it, which is 7, does it really cost 7? Exile this artifact. Exile another artifact you control, an artifact card from graveyard. Return this card transformed. Cost 7. Okay, this better be a slow format. And the fact that they even, I mean, if they want this card to be played at all, this has got to be a slow format to be able to get to 7 to justify doing this. But let's see what it is. When it enters battlefield, create 2 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature tokens, creatures you control. And then it crusades. I think this is pretty solid. I mean, getting the plains out of your deck, thinning your deck of lands, potentially, helping fix being able to cast your double white cards, gaining 2 life to stall. 7 is a lot, but if white often is going wide, turn 5, turn 7, you're only doing this. I think it's not terrible. It's not bad. I mean, whenever it synergizes with things like Adaptive Gym Guard and potentially, I'm sure there are other cards that it'll synergize with an artifact theme with white. I think it's not bad. I think Clayfire Bricks might be pretty good, actually. All right. Cosmium Blast, 1 white, 1 other instant. Cosmium Blast deals 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Last set in WoW, it was 3 damage, but you could also bargain to completely destroy it. Obviously, I think that one was better with the bargain, but adding a damage helps. 4 damage. It's going to kill most things in limited, other than bombs. So, yeah, Cosmium Blast, high pick probably. It's white removal. It's good. Not much to say about that. Next, Dauntless Dismantler. 1 white, 1 other creature, human artificer. Artifacts your opponent's control enter the battlefield tapped. 1 white, 2x. Sacrifice Dauntless Dismantler. Destroy each artifact with mana value X. So a worse Gorilla Shaman. I mean, 1/4 is a pretty good, is a pretty solid stat line. I mean, it's not aggressive, obviously, but it's a pretty solid stat line for a 2-drop. It destroys your own artifacts, and it seems like so far white's going to be pretty heavy on artifacts, so that's not good. I mean, artifacts your opponent's control enter the battlefield tapped is pretty cool, actually. I think he's going to be good. I mean, it depends on how many artifacts are in this set, but he might be good. And, you know, deceptively, if white is particularly the heavy artifact color, he might be deceptively a good splash card. You know, if you're running non-artifact colors, you splash him in against the other artifact colors. Maybe this whole set is gonna, every color is heavy in artifacts. I don't know yet, first impressions, but I think Dauntless Dismantler is good. Deconstruction Hammer, 1 white, equipped creature. Oh, it's an equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has sacrifice, destroy target artifact or enchantment, equip 1. Some more artifact hate. I mean, maybe one of these, but yeah, you don't want more than one of these in your deck. And even then, there are times when you're going to be short on creatures and you have this and you're like, womp womp. Okay, destroy your artifact, but you've got other threats and I'm sad. So I don't think this is necessarily, I don't think this is very strong. I mean, it's removal. There are artifact creatures, so you can remove creatures potentially. It's okay. I think, though, you still definitely don't want more than one in your deck. I could be wrong. Okay, Dusk Rose Reliquary, 1 white. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature. Ward 2. When it enters the battlefield, exile target artifact or creature an opponent controls until Dusk Rose leaves play. Okay, so we've seen this effect many, many times. I love the art. That black heart. It's very cool. We've seen this effect many times. I think if there's sacrifice synergy in this set, then it's much better. But it looks like there's a lot of artifact hate. So even though it has Ward 2, getting rid of it late game is gonna, it looks like so far, is gonna be a real possibility. I think this is, I mean, this is obviously good. It's light removal, but it could be overrated. I could see people taking it a little too early. I mean, sacrificing an artifact or creature is a big cost. I mean, you're committing 2 cards to only temporarily remove one of their cards, theoretically. I mean, if you remove it for the rest of the game, okay, it's a 2-for-1 for your opponent, but it could potentially be a 2-for-0 if they have a way to get rid of it. So it's all right. I would still rather, I mean, I need to see more of the set to know how effective Cosmium Blast is going to be, but I would still rather have Cosmium Blast, still rather have Dauntless Dismantler, I think. Yeah, that sacrifice, I mean, if the sacrifice synergy synergizes well, it's great. 1 white, oh, I mean, great cost, but I don't know. I guess, okay, this guy, Envoy of Okenek Ahau, I don't know how to pronounce that, Ahau. Cat Advisor, create a 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature token. So, I mean, there's going to be making a lot of tokens. Okay, Dusk Rose Reliquary is better. Maybe I'm coming around to Dusk Rose Reliquary. Maybe it is pretty good. The Envoy, 3 for 3/3 is solid. Stat line in limited. Gives you a mana sink later in the game. 1/1 colors gnome tokens don't make a huge impact, but it is something. I think It's pretty good. Honestly, so far, I think the white commons seem pretty strong to me. White might be the stronger color, but it's the only color I've looked at. So let's wait to see. Fabrication Foundry, one white, one other. Artifact, add one white, spend this mana only to cast an artifact spell or activate an ability of an artifact source. Okay, so it's kind of ramp, but only for artifacts. And pay one white, two other, exile one or more other artifacts you control with total mana value X. Total mana value X. Return target artifact card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So exchanging, removing. I think this really needs something you really need back. It's fun, but you're exiling your artifacts, so you don't get to do this over and over and over again. And then there's the cost. If you've got some bomb artifacts that you really want to bring back, if they do something about, the Foundry is going to be pretty okay, pretty good, but I don't think it's very good. Family Reunion. Pay one white, one other instant. Choose one. Creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Creatures you control gain hexproof until end of turn. Seems a little underwhelming. I mean, all creatures getting +1/+1. That's kind of nice. Protecting your creatures, it's all right. It's a fine combat trick. But you want maybe one of these in your deck, but if you don't want to be loading up your deck with a ton of acrobatic leaps and family reunions. They're not going to do much after the first copies. Maybe one in your deck. Could really turn the tide if there's a board sweeper that this helps make a lot of your creatures live, or they're able to target multiple ones in this live. This can obviously do a lot of work, but I feel like with these sort of combat tricks, it's hard to tell exactly how good they're going to be until you play the format some and see how good they react to what kind of board states come up often. So we'll see. Family Reunion. I mean, I don't think you want more than one at most. Get Lost. Destroy target creature, enchantment, or planeswalker. Its controller creates 2 map tokens. They're artifacts with 1. Sacrifice this artifact, target creature you control explores. Activate only as a sorcery. Okay, so I actually did see this card earlier on Reddit. Someone posted it, and with the caption or with the title of Power Creep. I think they're a little misguided on that. Maybe they're probably talking about Constructed, and in Constructed, this is probably much better. But in Limited, creature, enchantment, or planeswalker. I mean, it's got versatility. It's an instance. Doesn't cost much, obviously. Those are all great things. But in Limited, giving your opponent 2 map tokens, I think a lot of people are going to underestimate how bad that is. They get to explore, which allows them to potentially draw a card, draw that land they need, potentially fill their graveyard. Those map tokens give them a lot of versatility and things to make their board state better. And so Get Lost is only going to really be valuable if you're getting rid of, some sort of bomb. And usually the bombs, like I did see a god earlier, and we'll talk about gods. But gods you have to exile, for example. This doesn't exile. This just destroys. I think that obviously Get Lost is not bad, but it is, my hot take is it is going to be overrated. People are going to take this because it's rare and it's removal. when they should be taking a better common or uncommon at times. I mean, because also one thing I didn't mention is those map tokens. Looks like there's a lot of artifact synergy in this deck. So, you give them 2 map tokens and they can now use those to pump their adaptive gym guard every turn and be attacking with it. Like I said, if you use it effectively against a big threat, it's worth it. But I think it's going to turn out to not be as big of an advantage as you might think. With that being said, I love the art. All right. Glorifier of Suffering, 1 white, 2 other, creature, vampire, soldier. When Glorifier of Suffering, we have vampires in this set, eh? When Glorifier of Suffering enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature or artifact. When you do, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Okay, so I mean, so it can come down as a 5. So it's coming down with 5/4 stats, and you can spread that out for 3. I mean, 5/4 stats for 3 is busted, obviously, especially that you can spread it out. And yeah, I mean, if there's little winky dinky artifacts like a 1/1 colorless gnome, I mean, now it's coming down as a 4/3, not really a 5/4, because you're sacrificing that. It's okay, but it has to be 2 target creatures, so it cannot target itself twice with the same creature. It's okay. It's not that great. Maybe I'll be mistaken, with sacrifice. I mean, sacrifice synergy. If it synergizes with some sort of sacrifice synergy, then it's busted. It's very good and limited. Need to see what the rest of your deck looks like to see how much you can get out of it. Okay, Guardian of the Great Door, 2 white, creature, angel. As an additional cost to cast this spell, tap 4 untapped artifacts, creatures, and or lands you control, flying 4/4. Okay, so 4/4 flyer for 2 is obviously broken, but tap 4 untapped artifact, creatures, or lands you control, that's a lot. So turn 3, I mean, if you play creature turn 1, if you play permanent turn 2, artifact or creature, then turn 3, you still can't cast it. Because that's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So that's 5. Yeah, you still can't cast this on turn 3, even if you have a 1-drop and a 2-drop. So realistically, turn 4 is the earliest you can regularly maybe expect to cast this, and you're still tapping 2 of your permanents to do so. So if this just read, I mean, if this read white 4/4 flyer, you'd be like, well, that's bad. Sarah Angel's better. Yeah, this is not. I mean, a 4/4 flyer in limited is good no matter what the cost. I mean, within reason, but this is pretty expensive. Yeah, it's pretty expensive. I suspect week 1 of drafting or some pre-releases, people are going to be disappointed when they find out how hard this is to actually cast. Guardian of the Great Door, I'm going to say not that great. Will it still make the cut and you play it? Often, yeah, because, I mean, flying over for 4 is great. So I'm not saying it's unplayable, but it's not as great as you might first think. And you have Cosmium Blast, kills it. So they spend 6. to cast it. At some point in their turn, tapping themselves down, leaving themselves open. Their first attack, boom, it's dead. So it's okay, but it's really not. I think it. I don't know if it's I don't think it's undraftable. That's where I'm having trouble. I mean, I definitely don't think it's amazing or great, but is it? It's somewhere between the line of. It's somewhere in the line of good. I just don't know how good. Um, and maybe just okay. And I think it's somewhere in the line of okay. We'll see. Helping Hand, 1 white, sorcery. Return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. 1 white, very easy to cast. 3 or less. Well, hey, there you go. So I guess you somehow ditch Guardian of the Great Door on turn 1, and then you bring it back on turn 2. Okay, that's awesome. So like some synergy like this that can really cheat it out is excellent. But I don't know how easy that will be to get that out of your hand into the graveyard. I think there's maybe some mill effects in this set, so you can maybe mill it in there. I find Helping Hand in these. I feel Helping Hand type of effects in Limited really vary. If your deck is set up to really take advantage of it, sometimes it can be devastating. I mean, there's some 3 or less cards that coming into play once is like good, coming into play twice is like game changing. And then there's times though that when you have Helping Hand in your hand and the only thing you can bring back is let's see, what would be underwhelming? Okay to bring back. I mean, the only thing you can bring back is a Daunting Dismantler, and there aren't really good targets for it, or something like that. So, Helping Hand is one of those cards that I think you can get later in the draft, and you really got to look at what you've drafted and ask yourself, how often am I really going to be able to get the most value out of this card? Okay, next, Iron Paw Aspirant, 1 white, 1 other. Creature Cat Warrior. When Iron Paw Aspirant enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Okay, so a 2/3 for 2. It can target itself. That's nice. Badass sword. Very cool art. I'm going to say good common. I mean, 2/3 is, unfortunately, this day and age, not busted as a 2-drop, but you can spread it over if there's +1/+1 counter synergy strategies. It gets even better. I think Iron Paw Aspirant is going to be a good card. If there's a lot of +1/+1 counter synergies in this set, then it is a high pick card, like first couple picks, and you will see people picking this very high. Kinjali's Dawnrunner, 1 white, 2 other. Creature Human Scout, uncommon, double strike. When it enters battlefield, it explores. And exploring is reveal the top card of your library, put that card into your hand if it's a land. Otherwise, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature and then put it back in, or put it into the graveyard. Okay, so it either surveils, draws you a card, gives you a +1/+1 counter. 1/1 double strike is very underwhelming for 3. 2/2 double strike for 3 is better, but still not crazy. If there's other ways to pump it, I mean, obviously the Iron Paw Aspirant, you can put it on it. That's an example of what you would want to do. Usually with these double strike creatures, they have a high ceiling and a low floor. If you're just relying on her explore ability to make her good, she's going to be a pretty underwhelming 3-drop for your deck. If you've got lots of other cards that synergize with them, like the Aspirant and this Flanker, I guess cats are going to give +1/+1 creatures. You got a lot of cats, then she starts being pretty good. Kutsil's Flanker. Flash. When it enters battle, put a +1/+1 counter on the Flanker for each creature that left the battlefield under your control this turn. You gain 2 life and scry 2, or exile target player's graveyard. Okay, very situational. I like that there's a lot of options. Obviously, a very good card. I mean, this is the right way to, in my opinion, for a limited format, in my humble opinion, this is the right way to design a rare in limited format. Rares should give you options. Rares should do unique things. Rares should be powerful, but not, should not just be unbeatable bombs. And I think that's what this is. The gain 2 life and scry 2 is probably going to be the one you choose the least. Well, no, exile target player's graveyard is one you're going to choose the least. But if there's a lot of graveyards strategies in this set, it'll be played a lot. I don't think that putting a +1/+1 counter on it is going to. I think, that's the sexy thing you see first that you think is going to be what you use this for. But actually, I think that is probably going to be the one used the least because, I mean, you flash this in. I guess you can kill a big creature, but it's not going to get any +1/+1 counters unless this comes in after combat. And after combat, lots of things die. You bring it in. It's still going to be what? You get, it's only your creatures. So realistically, 2 of your creatures die. I mean, maybe more, I guess, if you're sacrificing these 1/1s. So let's say, reliably 3 creatures leave the graveyard. Well, your battlefield's been pretty messed up, and what do you get for it? You get a 6/3. 6/3. That they can just flash their, a 6/3 that dies very easily to Cosmium Blast. Not that impressive, to be honest. But obviously it's a rare. It's a good card. But it's definitely not a rare that you now splash white when you see it late because you want to play it. Not that way. Malamet War Scribe. 2 white, 3 other. When Malamet War Scribe enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +2/+1 until end of turn. The glyph is mightier than the sword. Not funny. Uncommon. +2/+1 is not that. I mean, you got to do this before combat, so they're not surprised. I get so. This is pretty underwhelming. This is only good if you have a very aggressive deck. If you have a very aggressive deck that wants to swing every turn and finish the game by turn 5, then this is good. If your deck is slow at all, this is not worth it. 4/3 is just not going to cut it as a 5 mana, and you're not surprising anyone. Yeah, maybe you get an attack in, but unless this is helping you push through lethal in turn 5 or turn 6 or something like that, it's gonna be pretty underwhelming. Market Gnome, 1 white, uncommon. When Market Gnome dies, you gain 1 life and draw a card. When Market Gnome is exiled from the battlefield while you're activating a craft ability, you gain 1 life and draw a card. So you don't draw 2 cards when it's exiled or whenever it's crafted, because crafting exiles them. This can, I think this could deceptively be a sleeper, especially if this is a slow format. It replaces itself. You gain a life. So if there is the one aggro deck that's inevitably going to be aggro colors, it's going to be in here or something, it protects you from that. 0/3 is a pretty good stat line to block and save you time. You don't draw the card until it dies or exile, though, so that's less good. But it's got that artifact, and creature sentry. You can sack it. Yeah. What was that card we want to sack creatures to? Glorifier of Suffering. Duskrow's Reliquary. Okay, this makes Duskrow's Reliquary and the Glorifier much better if you're playing this on turn 1. I think Market Gnome is not going to be so good that you want it in every deck, but in artifact heavy decks, in sacrifice synergy decks, I think it's going to be better than people expect or might expect. I don't know what people are thinking. I just know what I'm thinking, but it might be better than what people expect. Might of Ancestors, 1 white, 2 other. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gets +2/+0 and gains Vigilance until end of turn. The Vigilance is actually the best part of this, not the +2/+0. And it's okay. It's not great. It's not great. Problem with enchantments like this is they're just completely useless if you don't have any creatures. And sometimes they're even useless even if you do have creatures. Like, let's say you just have the Market Gnome in play. Okay, it's a 2/3, can attack. Maybe it trades off with 1, but that's not like a winning strategy to just keep trading with their creatures. You need to be generating some sort of advantage. Yeah, and you're just really sad whenever you don't have a quick draw, and this comes down turn 3, and you don't have any creatures in play, and they're building up their board state, they're attacking you, and you're just in trouble. Yeah, Might of Ancestors is one of those cards where, like, maybe it's the 22nd or 23rd card you add to a deck whenever you're just like, wow, yeah, this is the strategy, but I don't think it's that good. Miner's Guidewing, 1 white, flying vigilance. When Miner's Guidewing dies, target creature you control explores. It's a bird. 1/1. Explore is good. I think Miner's Guidewing is good. Aggressive, vigilance, flying, both great. You can sack it and it still does stuff. So whenever it gets later in the game, when it's pretty useless as a 1/1, it can go. Not only you can use it for the sacrifice fodder that's in this, you can tap it for that use, but also it does something whenever it's gone. Yeah, I think Miner's Guidewing is very good. Well, very good. I mean, it's not going to win you the game by itself, but I think it's solid. I think it's solid 1-drop for sure. Mischievous Pup, 1 white, 2 other, creature dog, flash. When Mischievous Pup enters the battlefield, return up to 1 other target permanent you control to its owner's hand. Permanent you control. Okay, so we saw this in Wild of Eldraine. It was 3/2, and it let you scry, and whenever you did return something, but it didn't have flash. The flash makes this even better. The scry is good, but I'd rather have flash. Yeah, this could be really excellent, actually. They attack you. They attack. Maybe there's some combat trick or something. Either when they attack, this flashes in and kills their 6/3, and also gives you some more value by bouncing something. They try to remove something. You flash this in, and it. So you save your thing, and it throws a cog in their attacking plans. I think Mischievous Pup is pretty strong, pretty good. I think you want it in your deck. There will be times when you don't have anything good to bounce, and this feels underwhelming. But I think baseline it still most of the time acts as a removal spell. By coming in and blocking. So that's good. Ozurtok, Deepest Foundation. 2 white, 4 other. Vigilance. If one or more creature tokens. If one. 11:45, 11:45. Okay, sorry. Checking something. If one or more creature tokens would be created under your control, 3 times that many of those tokens are created instead. So Magic the Mathening. When Ozurtok dies, return it to feel tapped and transformed under your control. Okay, so we saw +1/+1 counters. That's cool. So 3 times is insane. Explore, this works well with. So 3 times is bonkers for any of your counters. Vigilance, very strong. When it dies, becomes a land, and you can transform it back when you attack with 3 or more creatures this turn. After your attack, because it's only as a summary. Okay, obviously strong. Obviously a bomb. Yeah, it's definitely a bomb. You got to exile it to get rid of it. It's coming back. Well, attacking with 3 creatures and bringing it back is going to happen less than you might think. In limited times, whenever you can attack with 3 creatures and feel good about it, is not as common as you might think, and needs to be aggressive. But I mean, even attacking and losing on a bad trade is still worth bringing this god back for sure. Yeah, obviously it's a bomb. It's really good. It's not. I think you can still play around it. You know, it doesn't have trample, so you can chump block it all day long while you try to figure out how to deal with it. Yeah, I mean, what do you say? It's a mythic. It's a bomb. It's really good. Take it. I would even shift colors to white. Is it worth pack 3, first pick, completely shifting to white? That's tough. That'd be very tough. If you're weak, if it's a bad draft going for you, maybe. If you've got a solid deck in blue, green, another color, red, black, something like that, it's, probably not worth it, but it would definitely make me think. Old Tech Archaeologist, 1 white, 4 other, creature, human, artificer, scout. Common, when Old Tech Archaeologist enters the battlefield, choose 1, return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand, or scry 3. Okay, so bring something back from your graveyard, that's cool. 4/4 for 5 is not exciting. Scry 3, at least it does something even if you don't have something in your graveyard. 5 is just a lot for this. It's okay. You don't want to be playing too many of these, at the very least. It's somewhere in between, okay, I'll play 1 if I have a lot of artifacts some good artifacts I want to bring back. I am going to cut this, though, if I don't have good artifacts to bring back. Too slow, too big. Too slow. Old Tech Cloud Guard. 1 white, 3 other flying. When Old Tech Cloud Guard enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature token. Common, 3/2 flyer. I think it's good. I mean, I'm a little partial to flyers. I think maybe I have a weakness if I rate flyers a little higher than maybe than others do on average. I mean, everyone knows flying is good, but I kind of gravitate towards that style of drafting. Since way back in the day, I always liked blue-white flyers style of drafting. So I do kind of gravitate towards that. So I think I sometimes value flyers a little higher than they should be. But this is a 4-3, 4-3 stats coming in for 4, which is not great, not terrible. But it's split between a 1/1 body and its flyer. I think it's good. I think Gold Tech Cloud Guard is good. I'd play it. Potentially play 2 or 3, depending on what my 4 slot is like. Oteklan Landmark, 1 white artifact. When it enters the battlefield, scry 2. Craft with artifact, 1 white, 2 other. That's not very much. Flying, when it attacks, target attacking creature also gets flying. Cool. It really does nothing by itself. Exile this artifact, another artifact you control, or an artifact card from the graveyard. Return this card transform. So it's just 1 other artifact to exile. That's going to take more setup than you think. I don't think this is that great. Yeah, I don't think this is that great. Flying, a 1/4 flyer that gives something else flying. Yeah, I don't think it's that great. I could be wrong, but I think crafting this is not going to be as simple and easy as you think, and a 1/4 flyer for all that setup is not amazing. If the other colors don't have a lot of good ways to deal with flyers in the set, then maybe, but I don't think it's amazing. Petrify, 1 white, 1 other, enchantment, aura, common, enchant artifact or creature, can attack or block. So pacifism of the set. And is this just pacifism? So the only thing that makes this unique is that it can enchant an artifact also. And activated abilities can't be activated. So I guess that's the versatility here. It can go on an artifact. Haha, I petrified your Oteklan Landmark, so it can't craft. I mean, it's good. Yeah, it's kind of light removal. You want it, obviously. But if there's a lot of bounce in this set, and we've already seen there's some sacrifice, makes it a lot less good. It's okay. Considering I've already seen sacrifice synergy in white, and we've only been 1 color, and whenever you play, haha, I petrified your Oteklan Landmark, and then they just sacrifice it for Duskrow's Reliquary to get rid of your much more important threat, you're going to be like, oh, that's sad. Then they can just use this as exile for crafting something else. So Petrify is always a good card in limited. What you want, something you do want in white. Obviously, you still draft this, but I think so far from what I've seen, it's not going to be its best set. 1 white, 5 other, Quicksand, Whirlpool. This spell costs 3 less to cast if it targets a tapped creature, exile target creature. So it is 1 white, 2 other whenever they're attacking exile, so it gets rid of gods. And that's very good. All right, so here's the question. Do you want Petrify or do you want Quicksand Whirlpool? You get them both in the pack. You can only pick one. Which removal you want? I think I'd take the Whirlpool. I know 6 seems like a lot, and it is if you're going to do that as a sorcery, and it only affects a tapped creature. So you have to attack. And yeah, so I guess it doesn't kill the white god with vigilance. But 3 mana instant exile. I think that's the original, right? From Alliances. I think Quicksand Whirlpool. I think I prefer Quicksand Whirlpool. The tapped can really come back to bite you, but I'm just really worried that there's going to be a lot of workarounds for Petrify. All right. Resplendent Angel, 2 white, 1 other, flying at the beginning of each instep. If you gain 5 or more life this turn, create a 4/4 flying angel, and it gets, you can pump it for, busted. Absolutely busted. Bomb. Resplendent Angel is amazing. Wow. Flying 3. Yeah. I mean, it's a mythic, so you're not going to see it that often, but what is there to say? If they haven't dealt with it by turn 6, it's game over. You win. Yeah. Easy. Ruin Lurker Bat, 1 white, 1/1 flyer. Wow, 2 1/1 flyers for 1 in white. Flying light flink at the beginning of your instep. If you descended this turn, scry 1. So, our first descend. You descended if a permanent card was put in the graveyard from anywhere. That's probably going to happen a lot. I'm probably going to descend quite a bit, actually. Scry is okay. Flying lifelink. We've seen some +1/+1 counters that +1/+1, 1/2 that comes in on turn 2. Put this on this, and now it's beating you for lifelink for 2. That's really good. I think Ruin Lurker Bat is good. I mean, you get Ruin Lurker Bat, and you have, what's it called? Iron Paw Aspirants are common, so you can pick up a couple of them. Boom, boom, boom. I mean, that's actually pretty good, I think. I think Ruin Lurker Bat is gonna be a beater in this limited format. 1 white, 2 other, Sanguine Evangelist. Battle Cry. When this creature attacks, each other attacking creature gets +1/+0 until end turn. So another mechanic for white. When Sanguine Evangelist enters the battlefield or dies, create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying. It's kind of underwhelming, actually, for a rare. It's not bad, obviously, but 3 for 3/2 in stats is not that exciting. The Battle Cry is not that exciting. Yeah, honestly, Sanguine Evangelist, I mean, it's not bad, but for a rare, I don't know. You want more out of your rare. Soaring Sandwing, 2 white, 4 other, flying dinosaur, 3/5, 6 is a lot. When Soaring Sandwing enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life. That's cool. Plane Cycling. Okay, so he's good. All it takes is Plane Cycling, makes him good. You're going to Plane Cycle him more than you're going to Soaring Sandwing. Plane Cycling helps you scry with Ruin Lurker and fill up your graveyard and get that white source you need. Soaring Sandwing, good, obviously. I mean, you don't want 1,000,000 in your deck, but it's good common. Spring-loaded Saw Blades, 1 white, 1 other. Flash, when it enters the battlefield, deals 5 damage to target tap creature and opponent controls. Craft with artifact. Tap 2 other, untap. It's a vehicle. Crew 1, Blade Wheel Chariot becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. Yeah, very good. Good uncommon. Very, very good. 5 damage is a lot for 2, even if it has to be a tapped creature. Spring-loaded Saw Blade is very, very good. I think white, depending on, the other ones might blow it out of the water, but so far I think white is strong. 1 white, 1 other. Whenever 1,000 Moons Crackshot attacks, you may pay 1 white, 2 other. When you do, tap target creature. Meh. I'd rather have the +1/+1 creature guy, honestly. This is not that good. One of the weaker commons when compared with the other white commons. 1,000 Moon Infantry, 1 white, 2 other human soldier. Untap 1,000 Moons Infantry during each other player's untap step. 2/4. 2/4 is not a terrible stat line. Just untapping is not that big a deal. Yeah, just meh. 3. I mean, maybe if you're short on the 3 slot, you put him in, but I'm not super excited. If he was an artifact creature, maybe, but I'm not excited about this. I don't think either of the 1,000 Moons are that great. 1,000 Moon Smithy, 2 white, 2 other. When 1,000 Moon Smithy enters the battlefield, create a white gnome soldier artifact creature token with this creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of artifacts and or creatures you control at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase. You may tap 5 untapped artifacts. That's a lot. If you do transform it. And then the land puts more white gnome soldiers. So this gnome soldier, the land just puts more in whenever you cast artifact and creatures. Fun. Very fun card. Workaround. As a rare, though, it is kind of like you have to build your deck around it. Tinker's Tote, 1 white, 2 other. When Tinker's Tote enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature tokens. Okay, this is going to be an enabler for things like the Thousand Moon Smithy in the right deck. You like this, but it needs to be in the right deck. Unstable Glyph Bridge, 2 white, 3 other. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it for each player, choose a creature with power 2 or less that player controls and destroy all creatures except creatures chosen this way. Craft with artifact. So it's an awesome board sweeper that they get to keep 1 creature, but so do you. And whenever an opponent casts a spell during their turn, they can't attack you. Or each opponent who attacked you can't cast spells. So they either have to cast spells or attack for the rest of the game while this is in play. 3 is easy to kill. But yeah, this is a bomb. It's rare, right? Yeah. Super bomb. Take it. Probably the biggest bomb. I don't know if I prefer the god to this. Yeah, I mean, it's still, the god's still better. I mean, but, and that flyer, but this is the best rare I've seen in white, I think. Board sweeper. Yeah, this is excellent. Unstable Glyph Bridge, take it. Pack 2, change to white. Pack 3, you have a harder decision, but I would even think about it in Pack 3, changing to white, that it's that good. Vanguard of the Rose, 1 white, 1 other. Sacrifice another creature or artifact. Gains indestructible. Tap it. I mean, if you need sacrifice fodder, this is a great outlet for that. But it's okay. It needs sacrifice fodder, though, for it to be good. Or a lot of 1/1s or things like that. Warden of the Inner Sky, 1 white. As long as Warden of the Inner Sky has 3 or more counters on it, it has Flying and Vigilance. Tap 3 untap artifacts and or creatures. Put a +1/+1 counter on Warden of the Sky. Activate only a sorcery and scry 1. This is kind of a win more card. If you have enough artifacts in play that you're doing this a lot, and you don't really care about tapping out all your artifacts during your turn, your artifact creatures, then you're probably already winning. So this is a win more card, and those aren't as good in limited as you might think. If this was a 2/1, much better. 1/2, but it's obviously not bad. I'd play it. I mean, it's a rare. You're not gonna see it all the time, but as rare as go, I'd rather have an unstable Glyph Bridge for sure. Okay, I've got a meeting I've got to go to, so I'm going to cut the stream off here. But whenever I get back, we can talk about blue. I'll look at blue, and yeah, I know no one watched it live. That's okay. If anyone watches the replay, I appreciate you. Thanks, and consider a comment, liking, or subscribing. Let me know if you liked it or what you want changed. All right, thanks, everyone. See you.